Sweet. Hey, Kelsey, just obviously a really good note in the regular season on how do you feel like that's maybe carried over into, I know y'all just had shoot around there, getting ready for this big game against Kentucky.
I think it definitely carries over. I mean, when you have any sort of positive momentum, especially with the way we played, obviously getting a win was huge for us with our season. But at the end of the day, I think the way we played on both ends of the floor will definitely give us some momentum and confidence going into the SEC tournament.
How did shoot around go? I know it's a little bit different arena in there with the lighting and whatnot.
Yeah, it was good. We had a practice at a high school, which was a little bit different because that 3-point line's a little bit different with their markings. But once we got to the arena and we were able to get some shots up and get adjusted to, like you said, the lights, the size of the arena, and the temperature. There's ice underneath, so that's going to change things too.
Yeah, it's been about a month since y'all last played Kentucky. Y'all had a lead there in the third quarter. Do you remember what did y'all do well in that game to get that lead, and what do you maybe got to do better this time to close things out?
I thought we did a really good job in the first quarter guarding them and guarding their sets and blocking out. We actually had the lead until about 2:50 left in the third quarter. So I thought we scored with them as well. So when we were able, we got down by 6, 7, 8 points in the second quarter. We went into the locker room, I think, down at 6, down 6. So just being able to score with them and be able to get stops versus their size was huge for us at home. But we got to be able to finish it. We kind of got away from us in the fourth quarter at the very end of the third when they were able to take that lead.
Yeah, and obviously Strack had a really big game. What do y'all got to do different this time to limit her?
I think once she touches it and she's within, when she gets it within the paint, we got to make sure we're putting bodies on her and we're trying to make her force it out and try to force some rotations and some other people trying to take some of those extra shots and not just letting her beat us, 10 feet in.
And last one I'll ask before turning it over, just to get that first win, do maybe taking the court even today? Do y'all just kind of feel maybe a little bit of the monkey off the back just to put that to rest, the whole thing about still looking for a
Absolutely. I think, like I said, my players are, excited, they're happy. And, whenever you go through adversity, you're going through a losing streak such as we did, it's easy to get down. It's easy to focus on the negative, but for them to continue to fight through and find the positive and still show up and be able to play like we did on Sunday, I think that's, speaks volumes of us staying together and doing the right things. But just the excitement, no matter what, a win will make you feel better, no matter how you get it.
sweet. I'll turn it over to Hayden.
Hey, Coach. I just wanted to ask about your philosophy just towards conference championships, or excuse me, conference tournaments in general. I know this time last year you took your team to the Summit League title game. I know a lot of people will, think of you guys as underdog dogs, but what are just for you keys as a team overall to have success in a weekend tournament?
I think being consistent, and then I think also turning your focus over to the fact that, you have a non-con schedule, then you have a conference schedule, and then it's March. And in March Madness, like I told my team earlier, that's where the magic happens. You've seen tons of Cinderella stories. You've heard of tons of, underdog type stories. I mean, that's a lifeline that everybody loves. That's a storyline everybody loves, and so it's anybody's opportunity when you get into a tournament. You get into March, and it's who can put 40 minutes together, who can play the hardest and make shots. And so being collective, I think if we can carry over what we did on Sunday and keep that same momentum, we shot the ball well, we played really, really good team defense, and we limited our turnovers. I think, we do that, we give ourselves an opportunity to be successful.
And then as far as the start time, I mean, how important is getting some Z's a good 8 hours or however many you want your team to get tonight?
I think it's important. The good thing is they're getting to rest right now. We had an early practice, which was perfect because that's similar to the playtime. So that was great in my opinion. And now they're getting a little bit of rest time before we go to dinner. And so just kind of setting themselves up for it. And you leave it all on the floor because, like I told them, you got to empty your tank because you're not guaranteed another day. So, for that opportunity tomorrow morning, we got to be ready to empty our tank and leave it all on the floor.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
If I can hop back in real quick, obviously y'all want to play as long as you can, keep your season going as long as you can. But after it ends, how ready do you feel like y'all are maybe for that next chapter whenever you will have to, construct your next roster? Do you feel like y'all are in a good spot to whenever the portal opens to be able to recruit it?
Absolutely. My staff has done a great job, and been working with our front office and just doing all the things we need to be as prepared as we can until it actually opens and we know who's in and who's actually in, and all of those things. I definitely think we'll definitely be ready for that moment when it hits, full steam ahead. Won't be any resting at that point, that's for sure. But at this moment,
Yeah,
we're focused on the opportunity at hand and being where our feet are, and then we'll move on to that next mountain we got to climb.
yeah, that was actually what I was just about to ask. Because whenever there is always you have to be thinking ahead, but whenever you have a team with some seniors and you are going to a conference tournament, how important is that for you personally and just for your staff to maybe to not to let those things come when it's time for them to come and to stay present with this team?
I think that's the one good thing I think that's probably helped us this season is trying to stay where our feet are. You can't go back. We can't fix the losses. We can't go back and change any of that. And we can't be in tomorrow until tomorrow hits. So trying to really be in the moment and soak it up and allow these players to enjoy being at the conference tournament and the opportunity we have to play Kentucky. Because, even the final score might, was obviously there was a difference, the score differentiation. But at the end of the day, we played a really good game against them up until that end of the third quarter. So I think that can give us some hope too that, you have an opportunity and it is March. So just being where your feet are, being focused on this moment. And then once this moment is over, then we will move on and focus on the next moment.
And last question I'll ask is they announced conference awards today, and Shay Ralph won Coach of the Year in the league, and she took over. Y'all's maybe situations are very similar to where she took over a program that needed rebuilt. How much I don't know if inspiration is the right word, but just like maybe encouragement is that to see a coach like her who took over a rebuild to bring a program to the top, to know that it can be done in this league.
I definitely think that helps. I think it helps, not just myself, my staff, and our entire program, but you have those opportunities for rebuild, and that's where we're at. We're in year one. If you go back to most people's year ones, they most of them don't have 20-win seasons. If you go back and look at the majority, obviously the portal and rev share changes things now compared to what it used to 5, 10 years ago, but still, like Coach Ralph was able to rebuild, and it took time. And I think sometimes you have to weather the storm. You have to be patient. You have to believe in your system. And she's been able to do that. And now she's reaping the benefits of being a program changer.
So that's all I got. Thank you, Kelsi.
Thank you.
Coach, good luck tomorrow. Go get them.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, Hayden.
Bye.